Sometimes the most ordinary moments become extraordinary without warning. Sometimes a simple repair job becomes a life-changing encounter that reveals the true meaning of courage, sacrifice, and unexpected heroism. This is the story of Sarah Martinez, a young maintenance worker whose routine day at a military training facility turned into something she could never have imagined. What started as patching a bullet-riddled wall became a powerful lesson about duty, honor, and the profound impact one person can have on another's life. In a world where heroes often go unrecognized, this is a story that reminds us that sometimes the greatest acts of courage happen when we least expect them. The rifle she received that day wasn't just a weapon. It was a symbol of trust, respect, and the unbreakable bond between those who serve and those who support them. But the story behind why she received it and what happened next will touch your heart and challenge everything you think you know about what it means to be a hero. Sarah Martinez had been working at the Coronado Naval Base for 3 years, and she thought she had seen everything. As a civilian maintenance contractor, her job was simple but essential: keep the training facilities in perfect condition. Every morning, she would walk through the shooting ranges, inspect the walls, and repair any damage from the previous day's training exercises. The work was steady, predictable, and honest. Sarah took pride in her craftsmanship, ensuring every patch was smooth and every surface was ready for the next group of trainees. She had grown up in a military family. Her father served 2 tours in Vietnam. Her brother was stationed in Germany, so being around service members felt natural to her. On that particular Tuesday morning in March, the California sun was already warm by 6 a.m. as Sarah loaded her truck with supplies: spackling compound, sandpaper, primer, and paint, the tools of her trade. She had received a work order for Range 7, one of the busiest rifle ranges on the base. The previous week had seen intensive training sessions, and the back wall was reportedly riddled with holes from stray rounds. Sarah didn't mind the work. Each bullet hole told a story of someone learning to defend their country, someone pushing themselves to be better, someone preparing for missions that could save lives. She had developed a respect for the precision and discipline required in military training, even though she observed it from the outside. As she drove through the base gates, Sarah waved to the security guards who knew her by name. 3 years of early mornings had made her a familiar face. The base was coming alive with the sounds of morning PT, drill instructors calling cadence, and vehicles moving personnel to their training areas. Range 7 was located in a quieter section of the base, surrounded by eucalyptus trees that provided some shade during the hot afternoon hours. Sarah parked her truck near the entrance and began unloading her equipment. The range was empty at this early hour, giving her plenty of time to assess the damage and plan her repairs. Walking behind the firing line, Sarah examined the back wall of the range. It was worse than she had expected. Hundreds of small holes dotted the concrete and steel barrier, evidence of intensive training sessions. Some holes were clean and small, others were larger where rounds had struck at angles or where multiple shots had clustered together. Sarah set up her work area methodically. She had developed a system over the years that allowed her to work efficiently while maintaining high quality. First, she would clean out each hole, removing any loose concrete or metal fragments. Then, she would apply the spackling compound, smooth it, and let it dry before sanding and painting. The work was meditative in its own way. Each hole required attention and care. Sarah often thought about the person who had fired the shot that created each hole. Was it a young recruit learning to shoot for the first time? An experienced soldier maintaining their skills? Someone preparing for deployment? As she worked, Sarah heard footsteps approaching from behind. She turned to see a group of men in military fatigues walking toward the range. They moved with the confident, purposeful stride she had come to associate with special operations personnel. Their uniforms were different from the standard Navy gear she usually saw, more tactical, with equipment and patches that suggested they were part of an elite unit. The man leading the group was tall and lean, with the kind of presence that commanded attention without effort. His name tape read Thompson, and his bearing suggested significant experience and responsibility. Sarah had learned to read the subtle signs of rank and experience during her time on the base, and everything about this man indicated he was someone important. "Morning, ma'am," Thompson said, his voice respectful but authoritative. "We have the range reserved for 0800. Will you be finished by then?" Sarah checked her watch. It was 7:15 a.m. She had been working for over an hour and had made good progress, but she wasn't finished. "I need about another hour, sir." I can work around your training if needed. Thompson studied the wall Sarah was repairing, noting the precision of her work. Each patch was perfectly smooth and level, ready for painting. You do good work, he said. Take your time. We'll adjust our schedule. As the SEAL team began setting up their equipment, Sarah continued her repairs. She tried to stay out of their way while finishing her work, but she couldn't help but notice the level of professionalism and precision in everything they did. Their movements were economical and purposeful, their communication clear and efficient. The team was preparing for what appeared to be a complex training exercise. They had multiple types of rifles, various scopes and equipment, and were discussing distances, wind conditions, and target acquisition. Sarah had seen many training sessions over the years, but there was something different about this group, an intensity and focus that spoke of real-world experience and high-stakes missions. As Sarah worked on a particularly difficult section of the wall, she overheard fragments of their conversation. They were discussing tactics, scenarios that sounded far more complex than basic marksmanship training. These weren't recruits learning the fundamentals. These were experienced operators maintaining and advancing their skills for missions she could only imagine. Thompson approached her again as she was cleaning her tools. Ma'am, I hope you don't mind me asking, but how long have you been doing this work? 3 years here on base, sir, Sarah replied. But I've been doing maintenance and repair work for about 8 years total. It shows, Thompson said. The quality of your work is excellent. A lot of contractors do the minimum to get by, but you clearly take pride in what you do. Sarah felt a flush of pride at the compliment. Recognition from someone of Thompson's obvious caliber meant something. Thank you, sir. I figure if you're going to do something, you might as well do it right. Thompson nodded approvingly. That's the kind of attitude that makes a difference. The work you do here matters more than you might realize. When we're training, we need to focus completely on our skills and tactics. Knowing that our facilities are maintained to the highest standards allows us to do that. As Sarah packed up her equipment, she reflected on Thompson's words. She had always known her work was important, but hearing it acknowledged by someone who clearly understood the stakes involved gave her a new perspective. She wasn't just patching walls. She was contributing to the readiness and effectiveness of people who put their lives on the line for their country. The SEAL team began their training as Sarah finished loading her truck. Even from a distance, she could see the precision and skill they brought to their practice. Every shot was deliberate, every movement calculated. These were professionals operating at the highest level, and Sarah felt honored to play even a small part in supporting their mission. As she drove away from Range 7, Sarah had no idea that her encounter with Thompson and his team was just the beginning. The simple act of taking pride in her work and doing her job with integrity had made an impression that would soon lead to an opportunity she never could have imagined. The foundation for something extraordinary had been laid, built on mutual respect and shared commitment to excellence. Sometimes the most significant changes in our lives begin with the smallest gestures. Sarah's careful attention to her work and Thompson's recognition of that dedication would soon create a connection that would transform both of their lives in ways neither could have predicted. The stage was set for a story that would challenge assumptions about heroism, service, and the bonds that can form between unlikely allies. 3 weeks after her first encounter with Thompson's team, Sarah found herself working at Range 7 again. This time, the damage was even more extensive. The wall looked like it had been hit by everything from standard rifle rounds to what appeared to be larger caliber weapons. As she set up her equipment, Sarah wondered what kind of advanced training had taken place here. She was deep into her work when she heard familiar voices approaching. Thompson's team was returning to the range, and this time they had additional personnel with them. Sarah recognized Thompson's authoritative stride, but there were new faces among the group, men who carried themselves with the same professional bearing but bore different insignia. "Ma'am," Thompson called out as he approached. "Good to see you again. How's the wall coming along?" Sarah wiped her hands on a rag and turned to face him. "It's going well, sir. Should be finished in about 2 hours." This was some serious training session. Thompson's expression grew more serious. "We had some visitors from other units. Joint training exercise. The kind of scenarios we practice here can make the difference between coming home and not coming home." One of the new team members, a shorter man with intense eyes and graying temples, stepped forward. His name tape read Rodriguez, and his bearing suggested extensive combat experience. "You're the contractor Thompson mentioned," he said, extending his hand. "I'm Master Chief Rodriguez. I understand you do exceptional work." Sarah shook his hand, surprised by the formal introduction. Just doing my job, Master Chief. That's exactly the point, Rodriguez said. In our line of work, just doing the job can be the difference between success and failure. Thompson tells me you approach your work with the kind of attention to detail we expect from our own people. As the team set up their equipment, Sarah noticed they were preparing for a different kind of training than she had observed before. The targets were more complex, the distances varied, and there was an urgency to their movements that suggested they were preparing for something specific. Thompson approached her as she worked on a particularly damaged section of the wall. "Ma'am, can I ask you something?" "Of course, sir. What made you choose this kind of work? Working on a military base, supporting training operations?" Sarah paused, considering the question. "My father was Army, Vietnam veteran. My brother's currently stationed overseas. I grew up understanding that freedom isn't free, and that there are people willing to pay the price for it. This felt like a way to contribute, even in a small way." Thompson's expression shifted, showing a deeper respect. "That kind of family background explains a lot. You understand what we do here because you've lived with the reality of military service." As Sarah continued her work, she found herself drawn into conversations with various team members during their breaks. Each had stories of deployments, missions, and the constant training required to maintain their edge. She began to understand that these weren't just soldiers. They were craftsmen of a different sort, perfecting skills that could save lives and accomplish missions others couldn't even attempt. Rodriguez approached her during one of these breaks. "Thompson's been telling us about your work ethic. In our community, we recognize excellence when we see it, regardless of what form it takes. Your attention to detail, your commitment to quality. Those are the same characteristics we value in our own people." "Thank you, Master Chief. That means a lot coming from someone with your experience." "Experience teaches you to recognize what matters," Rodriguez said. "We've worked with a lot of contractors over the years. Most do adequate work. Some do poor work that we have to fix ourselves. Very few do the kind of work that actually enhances our training environment. You're in that last category." As the day progressed, Sarah found herself more integrated into the team's presence than she had ever been with any military unit. They included her in conversations, asked her opinions about range improvements, and treated her as a valued member of the support team rather than just a contractor doing a job. During lunch break, Thompson sat down near Sarah's work area. "Can I share something with you?" "Of course. We're preparing for a deployment. Can't say much about it, but it's the kind of mission that requires everything to be perfect. Every piece of equipment, every skill, every support element has to be at the highest level. When we're training, we need to know that we can focus completely on our preparation without worrying about whether our training environment is up to standard." Sarah nodded, understanding the weight of what he was saying. "I'll make sure everything is perfect, sir." "I know you will," Thompson said. "That's why I wanted to talk to you. We've been watching how you work, how you approach problems, how you solve issues that come up. You have the same mindset we try to develop in our people. See the problem, understand what needs to be done, and execute flawlessly." Later that afternoon, as Sarah was putting the finishing touches on her repairs, Rodriguez approached with what appeared to be a formal proposal. "We've been talking as a team, and we have a request for you." "What can I do for you, Master Chief?" "We'd like you to consider taking on additional responsibilities with our unit. Nothing that would interfere with your current job, but we could use someone with your skills and attitude to help maintain our specialized equipment and training areas." Sarah was stunned. "I'm honored, but I'm not sure I have the qualifications for that kind of work." "Qualifications can be taught," Thompson said, joining the conversation. "Attitude and work ethic can't. We can train you on our specific equipment and requirements. What we can't train is the kind of dedication and attention to detail you bring to everything you do." The offer was tempting, but Sarah had concerns. What would this involve exactly? Rodriguez explained that they were looking for someone to maintain their specialized training equipment, ensure their private training areas were always ready for use, and provide the kind of detailed support that would allow them to maximize their training time. It would involve some additional security clearance requirements and specialized training, but the team was willing to sponsor her through the process. "Why me?" Sarah asked. "There must be other contractors with more experience in this kind of work." Thompson's answer was simple and direct. "Because we trust you. In our line of work, trust isn't something we give lightly. We've watched how you work, how you handle responsibility, how you approach problems. You have the qualities we need, and, more importantly, you understand why our work matters." As Sarah considered the offer, She realized this was an opportunity to contribute to something much larger than she had ever imagined. These weren't just elite soldiers. They were people who put themselves in harm's way to protect others, and they were offering her a chance to be part of that mission. "I need to think about it," Sarah said finally. "Of course," Rodriguez replied. "Take the time you need. But understand that this offer comes from our recognition of your exceptional character and abilities. We don't make this kind of offer lightly." As Sarah finished her work that day, she reflected on how much her perspective had changed. 3 weeks ago, she was just a maintenance contractor doing a job. Now, she was being invited to join the support team for one of the most elite military units in the world. The recognition of her work and character by these exceptional people was both humbling and inspiring. Driving home that evening, Sarah couldn't stop thinking about the opportunity. It represented a chance to contribute to something truly important, to use her skills in service of people who risked everything for their country. But it also represented a significant change from the predictable routine she had built over the past 3 years. The decision would require careful consideration, but one thing was already clear. Her encounter with Thompson's team had opened a door to possibilities she had never imagined. The simple act of doing her job with integrity and pride had created an opportunity that could change the entire direction of her career and her life. Sometimes recognition comes from the most unexpected sources, and sometimes the people who see our potential are the ones we would least expect to notice us. Sarah's journey from maintenance contractor to trusted team member was just beginning, but the foundation of mutual respect and shared values had already been established. The next phase would test her courage, her commitment, and her ability to rise to challenges she had never faced before. Sarah spent 3 sleepless nights thinking about the offer from Thompson's team. The opportunity was incredible, but it would mean stepping into a world she had only observed from the outside. On Thursday morning, she made her decision. When she arrived at Range 7 for her regular maintenance work, she sought out Thompson to give him her answer. "I want to do it," she told him simply. "I want to join your support team." Thompson's smile was immediate and genuine. "Outstanding. I knew you'd make the right choice. But I want you to understand, this isn't just about changing your job description. You're going to be part of something that demands the highest level of performance and integrity. Are you ready for that?" "I think so, sir." "I hope so." "Thinking and hoping aren't good enough," Thompson said, his tone becoming more serious. "In our world, there's no room for uncertainty. You need to know you can handle whatever we ask of you. That's why we're going to start with a probationary period. Consider it a test of whether this is really the right fit for both of us." Over the next 2 weeks, Sarah's routine changed dramatically. In addition to her regular maintenance duties, she began working with Thompson's team on specialized projects. They taught her to maintain their advanced optics, care for specialized weapons systems, and prepare training scenarios that required precise attention to detail. The work was challenging in ways Sarah had never experienced. Every task had to be completed flawlessly because lives could depend on the equipment functioning perfectly. There was no room for good enough or close enough. Everything had to be exactly right every time. Rodriguez became her primary mentor during this period. His approach to training was demanding but fair, always explaining not just what needed to be done but why it mattered. "In our line of work," he told her, "the difference between 99% right and 100% right can be the difference between a successful mission and a catastrophe. We're going to train you to think and work at that level." The training was intensive. Sarah learned about different types of ammunition and their specific storage requirements. She mastered the maintenance schedules for complex optical equipment worth more than most people's annual salary. She studied the setup requirements for various training scenarios, understanding how each element contributed to realistic and effective preparation. But the most challenging aspect wasn't the technical knowledge. It was the mental adjustment to the level of responsibility involved. When Sarah was just maintaining walls and basic facilities, a small mistake meant extra work or a delayed schedule. Now, a mistake could mean that critical equipment failed during a mission, potentially costing lives. The psychological pressure was intense, but Sarah found herself rising to meet it. The same attention to detail that had impressed Thompson in her wall repairs now applied to much more critical tasks. She developed systems and checklists to ensure nothing was overlooked. She double and triple-checked her work, understanding that perfectionism wasn't just appreciated here, it was required. 3 weeks into her probationary period, Sarah faced her first real test. The team was preparing for a complex night training exercise that would simulate conditions they might face on their upcoming deployment. The scenario required multiple weapons systems, night vision equipment, and communications gear to be set up and tested before the exercise began. Thompson assigned Sarah to oversee the equipment preparation. "This is your show," he told her. "Everything needs to be ready and functioning perfectly by 2000 hours. The entire training exercise depends on the equipment working flawlessly." Sarah felt the weight of responsibility settle on her shoulders. This wasn't just about doing a job well. This was about proving she belonged on the team. She spent the entire day methodically going through each piece of equipment, testing systems, and verifying that everything met the exact specifications required. As the afternoon wore on, Sarah discovered a problem with one of the night vision systems. The calibration was slightly off, not enough to be obvious during casual inspection, but enough to potentially compromise the effectiveness of the training. A less experienced person might have missed it entirely, or worse, might have noticed it, but decided it was close enough. Sarah spent 2 hours carefully recalibrating the system, consulting technical manuals, and calling the manufacturer's support line to verify her procedures. By the time she finished, the system was functioning perfectly, but she was cutting it close to the 2,000 hours deadline. When Thompson arrived to inspect the equipment setup, Sarah was putting the finishing touches on her preparations. He moved through each station methodically, testing systems and verifying configurations. His expression remained neutral throughout the inspection, giving Sarah no indication of whether she was meeting his standards. "Equipment inspection complete," Thompson announced to his team. "Everything is functioning perfectly. Outstanding work." Sarah felt a surge of relief and pride, but Thompson wasn't finished. "Martinez," he called her over. "Tell me about the night vision system in Station 3. Sarah's heart sank. Had she missed something? "What about it, sir?" "Rodriguez tested it this morning and noted a calibration issue." "How did you handle that?" "I found the same issue during my inspection," Sarah replied. "The calibration was off by about 2 degrees. I recalibrated it according to the technical manual and verified the settings with the manufacturer's support team." Thompson nodded slowly. "That calibration issue was deliberate. We introduced it to see if you would catch it and how you would handle it. Many people would have either missed it entirely or tried to work around it without fixing the underlying problem." Sarah realized she had been tested without knowing it. The thought was both unsettling and validating. They trusted her enough to test her, but they had also been evaluating her response to a real challenge. "This was a test of more than just your technical skills," Rodriguez added, joining the conversation. "It was a test of your judgment, your thoroughness, and your commitment to excellence. You could have passed the issue along to someone else or decided it wasn't significant enough to worry about. Instead, you took responsibility and fixed it properly." As the night training exercise proceeded, Sarah watched the team operate with the equipment she had prepared. Every piece functioned flawlessly, contributing to a successful training session that would help prepare them for their upcoming mission. Knowing that her work had contributed to that success gave her a sense of satisfaction unlike anything she had experienced in her previous jobs. After the exercise, Thompson approached her with what appeared to be a formal evaluation. "Your probationary period is complete," he said. "We've seen enough to make a decision about your permanent status with the team." Sarah waited, trying to read his expression but finding no clues about their conclusion. "You've exceeded our expectations," Thompson continued. "Your technical skills are solid and improving rapidly. Your attention to detail is exactly what we need. But, most importantly, you've demonstrated the kind of judgment and integrity we require from everyone on our team." Rodriguez handed her a folder containing what appeared to be official paperwork. "Welcome to the team, Sarah. This makes it official. You're now part of our support element with a security clearance and access to classified equipment and information." The moment was surreal. 3 months ago, Sarah had been patching walls and thinking of herself as just another contractor. Now she was holding paperwork that made her an official part of one of the most elite military units in the world. The trust they were placing in her was enormous and humbling. "This comes with significant responsibilities," Thompson warned. "You'll have access to information and equipment that you cannot discuss with anyone outside the team. You'll be expected to maintain the highest standards of performance and conduct at all times. Are you ready for that level of commitment?" "Yes, sir. I understand what this means, and I won't let you down." "We know you won't," Rodriguez said. "That's why you're here." As Sarah drove home that night, she reflected on how dramatically her life had changed. The challenges ahead would be greater than anything she had faced before, but she also knew she had found her place. The respect and Trust of Thompson's team meant more to her than any salary increase or job title could have. She was no longer just supporting the military from the outside. She was now part of the machine that kept these elite warriors ready for whatever missions they might face. The responsibility was enormous, but so was the sense of purpose and belonging. The foundation had been laid for what would become the most meaningful work of Sarah's life. Her journey from maintenance contractor to trusted team member was complete, but the real challenges were just beginning. Soon, she would face situations that would test not just her technical skills, but her courage, her loyalty, and her commitment to the team that had given her this incredible opportunity. 6 months into her new role with Thompson's team, Sarah had found her rhythm. She had earned her security clearance, mastered the maintenance requirements for their specialized equipment, and become an integral part of their preparation routine. The team's deployment date was approaching, and the intensity of their training had reached its peak. Sarah arrived at the team's private facility early one morning to find unusual activity. Additional personnel were present, and there was an urgency to everyone's movements that suggested something significant was happening. Thompson was in deep conversation with several officers she didn't recognize, their expressions serious and focused. Martinez, Rodriguez called her over. We need to accelerate our equipment preparation timeline. The deployment schedule has moved up significantly. Sarah felt her stomach tighten. She had grown close to the team members over the past months, and the thought of them heading into danger earlier than expected was unsettling. How much time do we have? 48 hours, Thompson said, joining the conversation. Everything needs to be ready for inspection and shipping by 0600 Thursday morning. The timeline was aggressive, but Sarah had prepared for this possibility. She had developed detailed checklists and procedures that would allow her to prepare their equipment quickly without compromising quality. I can make it work, sir, but I'll need to work straight through the next 2 days. That's not necessary, Rodriguez said. We can bring in additional personnel to help with the basic tasks. No, Sarah replied firmly. This equipment is my responsibility. I know every piece, every setting, every requirement. Bringing in other people at this stage would actually slow us down and increase the risk of mistakes. Thompson studied her carefully. You understand what you're committing to? 48 hours straight, no breaks, maximum pressure, and everything has to be perfect. I understand, sir. This is what I'm here for. What followed were the most intense 48 hours of Sarah's life. She worked methodically through her checklists, testing, and preparing each piece of equipment with the thoroughness that had become her trademark. The team members rotated through to help where they could, but Sarah took personal responsibility for every critical system. As the deadline approached, Sarah was running on adrenaline and determination. She had been awake for over 30 hours, but her focus remained sharp. Every piece of equipment had been tested multiple times, every setting verified against specifications, every backup system confirmed operational. With 6 hours remaining before the deadline, Sarah was conducting her final inspections when she discovered a problem that made her blood run cold. One of the primary rifle systems showed signs of a hairline crack in the receiver, so small it was barely visible, but potentially catastrophic if it failed under stress. The crack was in a location that suggested it might have been caused by metal fatigue from extensive use. Under normal circumstances, the weapon would be sent back to the manufacturer for inspection and possible replacement. But they didn't have normal circumstances. They had 6 hours before deployment. Sarah stared at the rifle, her mind racing through options. She could report the issue and recommend the weapon be replaced, but that might delay the deployment. She could declare it safe for use based on the minimal nature of the crack, but if it failed during a mission, the consequences could be deadly. There was no easy answer. She found Thompson in the command area, reviewing final mission briefings. Sir, I need to speak with you privately. Thompson took one look at her expression and led her to a quiet corner. What's the problem? Sarah explained the situation with the rifle, showing him the nearly invisible crack and explaining the potential implications. I can't recommend this weapon for deployment in its current condition, but I also understand the timing constraints we're facing. Thompson examined the rifle carefully, confirming Sarah's assessment. What's your professional recommendation? Replace the weapon. The risk is too great. Even if it delays the deployment? Sarah met his eyes directly. Even if it delays the deployment. I won't sign off on equipment that could fail when you need it most. Thompson was quiet for a long moment, and Sarah worried she had made the wrong call. Finally, he spoke. You're absolutely right. A weapon that might fail is worse than no weapon at all. We'll get a replacement. What happened next surprised Sarah. Instead of expressing frustration about the delay, Thompson called Rodriguez over and explained the situation. Rodriguez's response was immediate approval of Sarah's decision. "This is exactly why we wanted you on the team," Rodriguez told her. "Anyone can follow checklists and procedures. What we need is someone with the judgment to make the hard calls when situations don't fit the standard protocols." Thompson made a phone call, and within 2 hours, a replacement weapon had been delivered from another unit. Sarah quickly tested and prepared the new rifle, ensuring it met all specifications. The deployment timeline remained on schedule. As the equipment was loaded for transport, Thompson approached Sarah with something in his hands. It was the rifle with the hairline crack, but now it had been officially decommissioned and marked as a training weapon. "I want you to have this," Thompson said, presenting the rifle to her. Sarah was stunned. "Sir, I can't accept this. It's military property, and besides, what would I do with it?" "It's been properly decommissioned and transferred," Thompson explained. "This rifle has been with our team for 5 years. It's been on 7 deployments and helped complete missions that saved countless lives. But its active service is over because you had the courage to make the right call when it mattered most." Rodriguez joined the conversation. "This rifle represents something important. It represents the trust we place in you, the respect we have for your judgment, and our appreciation for your commitment to our safety and mission success." Sarah looked at the rifle, overwhelmed by the significance of the gesture. "I don't understand. Why give it to me?" "Because you earned it," Thompson said simply. "You could have taken the easy path, signed off on questionable equipment, and let someone else deal with the consequences. Instead, you put our safety above everything else, even when it meant potentially causing problems for the mission timeline." As Sarah held the rifle, she felt the weight of more than just the weapon itself. She was holding a symbol of trust, respect, and belonging that she had never expected to receive. The team she had started working with as an outsider had just given her one of their most treasured possessions. "This rifle has a history," Rodriguez continued. "It's been carried by some of the finest warriors I've ever known. It's seen action in places I can't name, accomplished things I can't discuss. Now it's yours, not as a trophy, but as a reminder of what it means to make the right choice when the stakes are highest." Thompson's expression grew more serious. "We're about to deploy on a mission that will put us in significant danger. Knowing that our equipment has been prepared by someone with your integrity and judgment gives us confidence that we can focus on the mission without worrying about equipment failure. That confidence could save our lives." As the team prepared to leave for their deployment, each member made a point of thanking Sarah personally for her work. These were warriors who had faced the worst the world could offer, and they were expressing gratitude to her for doing her job with excellence. The moment was both humbling and inspiring. "Take care of yourself while we're gone," Thompson said as he prepared to board the transport. "When we get back, there will be new challenges and new missions. We'll need you ready." Sarah watched the transport leave, carrying the team she had grown to respect and care about into unknown dangers. The rifle in her hands represented their trust in her, but it also represented her commitment to them. She would be ready when they returned, and she would continue to provide the level of support that could help keep them safe and successful. Standing alone in the empty facility, Sarah reflected on how dramatically her life had changed. She had started as a maintenance contractor patching walls, but she had become something much more significant. A trusted member of an elite team, someone whose judgment and integrity directly contributed to mission success and personnel safety. The rifle she now owned was more than a weapon or a memento. It was a symbol of the highest trust that could be placed in someone, and a reminder that excellence in any field could open doors to opportunities beyond imagination. Sarah's journey was far from over, but this moment marked a fundamental transformation in how she saw herself and her role in the world. 3 months passed without word from Thompson's team. Sarah continued her work maintaining the base facilities, but her thoughts were constantly with the deployed unit. She had no way of knowing where they were or what they were facing, but she understood that their silence meant they were deep into their mission. During their absence, Sarah used her time to further develop her skills and expand her knowledge. She took additional courses in advanced equipment maintenance, studied new technologies that might benefit the team when they returned, and worked with other units on the base to broaden her experience. She was determined to be even more valuable when Thompson's team came back. The rifle they had given her held a place of honor in her home, properly secured and displayed as a reminder of the trust they had placed in her. She found herself looking at it during quiet moments, thinking about the men who were somewhere in the world carrying out dangerous missions with equipment she had helped prepare. On a Tuesday morning in June, Sarah was working on routine maintenance at Range 7 when she heard familiar voices approaching. Her heart leaped as she recognized Thompson's laugh carrying across the range. She turned to see the team walking toward her, looking tired but intact. The relief she felt was overwhelming. "Ma'am," Thompson called out with a grin. "Miss us?" Sarah wanted to run over and hug them all, but she maintained her professionalism. "Welcome back, sir. Good to see everyone made it home safely." Rodriguez approached with his characteristic stern expression, but Sarah could see the warmth in his eyes. "We had some interesting experiences on this deployment. Remind me to tell you about the night our primary communications equipment decided to work flawlessly despite being dropped in a river." "Your equipment preparation was outstanding," Thompson added. "Everything functioned exactly as it should have, even under conditions we hadn't anticipated. That reliability allowed us to complete our mission successfully." As the team settled back into their routine, Sarah learned more about their deployment. While they couldn't share specific details about their mission, they made it clear that her work had contributed significantly to their success. Equipment failures in their line of work weren't just inconvenient, they could be deadly. The fact that everything had functioned perfectly under extreme conditions validated Sarah's approach to her responsibilities. But the team's return also brought changes. Thompson called Sarah into his office a week after they had returned. "We need to talk about your future," he said. Sarah felt a moment of concern. "Is there a problem with my work, sir?" "Quite the opposite," Thompson replied. "Your work has been so exceptional that it's attracted attention at higher levels. We've been asked to recommend you for a position with a joint special operations unit that's being formed." The opportunity Thompson described was beyond anything Sarah had imagined. The new unit would bring together elite personnel from multiple branches of the military for specialized missions. They needed support personnel with the highest level of skills and clearance, and Sarah's work with Thompson's team had made her a prime candidate. This would mean working with SEAL teams, Army Rangers, Air Force Special Operations, and Marine Force Recon, Rodriguez explained. The missions would be more complex, the equipment more advanced, and the responsibility significantly greater. Sarah was honored, but also apprehensive. "Do you think I'm ready for that level of responsibility?" "We know you are," Thompson said firmly. "The fact that you're even asking that question proves you have the right mindset. Overconfidence gets people killed in our line of work. Healthy respect for the responsibility is exactly what we want to see." The decision process was complex. The new position would require additional training, higher security clearances, and a significant increase in responsibility. But it would also mean working at the highest levels of military operations, supporting missions that could have national and international significance. After careful consideration and discussions with her family, Sarah accepted the position. Her father, the Vietnam veteran, was particularly proud. "You found a way to serve that uses your unique talents," he told her. "That's something special." The transition to the joint unit was challenging, but rewarding. Sarah found herself working with the most elite military personnel from across all branches of service. Each unit brought different perspectives and requirements, and Sarah had to adapt quickly to support their diverse needs. The equipment was more advanced than anything she had worked with previously. Some systems were so classified that she had to undergo additional background investigations just to access the training materials. But her experience with Thompson's team had prepared her for the level of precision and attention to detail required. 3 months into her new position, Sarah was supervising equipment preparation for a multi-unit training exercise when she received an unexpected visitor. Thompson appeared at her workstation, now wearing different insignia that indicated a promotion. "Congratulations on your new position," he said. "I hear you're excelling as expected." "Thank you, sir. I owe a lot of it to the training and opportunities your team gave me." Thompson's expression grew more serious. "I want you to understand something. When we gave you that rifle, it wasn't just a gesture of appreciation. It was a symbol of something deeper, the recognition that excellence can come from anywhere, and that the most important contributions to our mission often come from people who aren't in the spotlight." He explained that Sarah's story had become somewhat legendary within the special operations community. A maintenance contractor who had risen to become one of the most trusted support personnel in elite units was inspiring others to look beyond traditional boundaries when identifying talent. "You've proven that dedication, integrity, and attention to detail can open doors to opportunities that don't exist in any job description," Thompson continued. "But More importantly, you've shown that supporting the mission with excellence is just as valuable as carrying out the mission itself. Rodriguez appeared, having recently returned from another deployment. Your equipment preparation was perfect again, he told Sarah. Zero failures, zero issues. Everything functioned exactly as required. That level of reliability allows us to focus completely on the mission, knowing that our equipment will perform when we need it most. As Sarah looked back on her journey from wall patching contractor to elite support specialist, she marveled at how a simple commitment to doing her job had opened doors she never knew existed. The rifle in her home represented more than recognition. It represented the power of excellence to transform not just careers, but lives. But perhaps the most meaningful aspect of her transformation was the relationships she had built. Thompson's team had become more than colleagues. They were family. They had seen her potential when she couldn't see it herself, and they had given her opportunities to grow beyond her own expectations. What's next? Thompson asked as their conversation wound down. Sarah considered the question. She was now working at the highest levels of military support, with access to the most advanced equipment and the most critical missions. But she also knew that her journey was far from over. Whatever comes next, she said, I'll be ready for it. You taught me that excellence isn't about the size of the job, it's about the commitment you bring to it. Thompson smiled. That's exactly the right answer. And remember, that rifle you carry represents more than our past appreciation. It represents our ongoing confidence in your ability to handle whatever challenges come your way. As Sarah returned to her work, she reflected on the profound truth that sometimes the most significant opportunities in life come from simply doing our current job with exceptional dedication. Her story had started with patching walls and evolved into supporting some of the most critical military operations in the world. The rifle she had been given was no longer just a symbol of past achievement. It was a reminder of ongoing responsibility. Every day, she had the opportunity to contribute to missions that could save lives, protect freedom, and serve something greater than herself. That responsibility was both humbling and inspiring. Sarah's transformation from maintenance contractor to elite support specialist proved that excellence has the power to transcend boundaries, open unexpected doors, and create opportunities that exist nowhere in any job description. Her story became a testament to the idea that every job, no matter how simple it might seem, has the potential to become the foundation for something extraordinary. The journey that began with a simple commitment to patch walls perfectly had evolved into a career dedicated to ensuring that America's finest warriors had the support they needed to complete impossible missions and return home safely. In the end, that transformation was built on the simplest foundation of all, the decision to do whatever job you're given with absolute excellence and unwavering integrity.